Good morning, Revolution, and welcome to our show this morning. Rosanna, you're back from taking care of your grandson. Welcome back.
Yeah, it was vice
Anita
versa.
and
Yeah.
Mr. Scott, you're growing a beard. That haircut ain't enough. You got to
Yeah,
put some
well,
whiskers.
just getting lazy.
Just getting some whiskers on your face, trying to look. You don't need to try to look distinguished, Scott. It comes naturally. No need for any affectations. Well, we're going to be talking about a number of issues. There's still a long and hard and very central debate in the Congress about abortion rights. We're also going to be talking about the summit in the Americas. You won't believe what the U.S. administration is trying to do down south. Then the war in the Ukraine uh, is continuing. Russia's invasion has shifted, not so much in intensity, but direction. And the repercussions internationally are serious. And Finland and Sweden, I think, now they want to join NATO. So we're going to be talking about that. I think Putin wanted to get rid of NATO. It's boomerang, y'all. The opposite. Opposite has happened. And then we're also going to be talking about a new scientific discovery, black holes in the center of our galaxy. I think they think the black holes are at the center of our galaxy, but who knows since no light escapes. So you don't know what the hell you're looking at. But we're going to talk about that anyway. Maybe we'll talk about it, Rosanna, Scott, and Anita, from the standpoint of really what part of material reality is actually knowable. We'll discuss the theory of knowledge and see whether or not that, or not, we can forget about it and talk about something else.
Oh no,
If
let's do.
Yeah,
if
that's a tough
if you would,
question.
oh no, you see what gets Scott and Anita excited, Rosanna. Don't get them to drinking because then it'll really be an interesting conversation. But first, let's take up some mailbag questions. We always get a lot of questions from our listening audience. I'm going to start with one. I think we'll ask one person to take each question rather than have everybody comment on it so that we can move through the show. First question, Scott, what will we do in order to prevent the United States of America from looking like the scenery in George Orwell's Animal Farm? Scott, what will
Well,
we do?
well, the first thing we'll do is not be characters in a bad novel written by an anti-communist snitch. Um, Orwell was not a friend of the work. He's very typical of that kind of um, you know petty bourgeois, self-proclaimed socialist who, um, sided against the Soviet Union and ended up turning traitor to the class. Um, but so Animal Farm is a caricature of the worst accusations against the Soviet Union, um, based on real difficulties in developing um, a socialist democracy. Remember, socialism is new, and was especially new at the time of the Russian Revolution. Um, and everything grows out, socialism grows out of the existing uh, terrain, the struggles of people. Um, and the Tsarist regime in Russia was one of the most heavily bureaucratized, repressive police states the world has ever known. And the struggle to replace that in a country with very little democratic tradition was not an easy one. Um, in the United States, we have not only the benefit of the Soviet experience, the ongoing experience of socialist development in China, in Cuba, um, but also a
Wait, wait,
massive
wait, wait, wait,
young
wait, wait, wait.
and a,
You're saying that the Soviet government was they called the state of the whole people was a militarized bureaucratic police state? Anyway,
No,
finish up your
the
question.
regime that came
I gotta
before
go
it
to the
was.
next one.
But replacing that with an advanced socialist democracy was, you know, it was a difficult struggle, and Lenin understood it to be difficult and was well aware of the. But he also recognized that without socialist revolution, the goals proclaimed by bourgeois democracy, equality of the sexes, freedom of religion, um, all those things that are enshrined in all these bourgeois constitutions are impossible as long as um, you know the first primordial right is the right of private property.
So more
So
democracy, that's your solution? Good.
socialist democracy,
Rosanna,
yes.
your question. We can come back to it, Scott. Is the Communist Party close enough to the working class in this country? If so, how can you demonstrate that?
The Communist Party is made up of the working class. So I would say most definitely. We're involved in the struggles of the working class. We are working class. So yeah, that's my short answer.
Short and sweet and correct. And correct. We have all of the best and some of the, I guess, not so great parts of the working class. We're a work in progress. And, our members reflect, who and what we are. And the third question is somebody see it. I can't spy it. Anita, I think.
Yes, I think it's a question about the how to form a new club in an area where there aren't clubs already.
How do you do
And
it?
well, it's I think a lot of people join our. I've talked to a lot of new members of our party, and a lot of people are joining our party because of the structure that we offer and the history that we offer. 102 years of history of struggle, and our structure is very is unique and really has worked over the years. And I think we have to have that continuity with from year to year and from convention to convention. So I think I would recommend first that person, if they have a district, to work through the district. But if not, contact Rosanna and other members of the organizing department. And they will help new members start the process of forming a collective. That's what we call it in Ohio. We have like a Cincinnati collective. It's not quite a club yet because it hasn't gelled, but the collective is the first thing, and then you work on the process. I think a collective or a club has to be in place at least 6 months before we really consider it a club of the Communist Party.
So first you get together and you recruit several other people.
Mm-hmm.
Then you start having meetings and you try to get a coordinator, maybe an education director, if you can, maybe a treasurer, if you need one. And then you start meeting and you read the program and you follow the Constitution. And then you contact Rosanna and then you have to apply to the national committee or national board if you're not in an organized district in order to join. And you got to wait 6 months and then apply again. And make sure you keep your minutes. Don't be trying to come and join the party, get constituted at a club if you ain't got no minutes, Rosanna. We want to know what you were doing and
Joe,
what huh?
I would add that you have to be grounded in your community. That's also part of the and then you'll be assigned a mentor that will help with any questions that the club members or the forming club membership um, has during that process, and it is a 6 month period. But grounding in your community has to be part of that.
All right. So get together with several people, form a club, conduct activities in your community, find out who your local union is, find out who your local preacher is, or a priest, or rabbi. Find out who the principal of the schools are. Find out what stores are. If you haven't lived there, if you've lived there, you already know. But then you got to contact them, start building relationships with them, meet, get involved in different struggles, whatever they might be. A woman's right to choose is a good one. Organizing an Amazon warehouse is another good one. Fighting against to get Mr. Biden to cancel the student debt, that's another good one. Fight against that war in Ukraine, that's another good one. Then you're going to have to get a mentor. Rosanna's going to assign Scott to mentor you for several months. And after that, 6 months, or it might be Anita, you apply to the national board, send in your minutes, and then we will, if everything goes correctly, vote you in. Well, those are our questions. Keep sending them in, and we'll get to 3 or 4 more. We always run out of time, so we wanted to do it first up this morning. Well, the abortion rights discussion is continuing in the Congress. Anita, they had a vote this week.
That's right.
And they voted it down. Mr. Schumer put forward a bill that had all the I's dotted and T's crossed, and it didn't get the support that it needed. What happened?
Well, it's the Women's Health Protection Act, and even Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, who support continuing Roe v. Wade, they voted against it. In fact, all the Republicans plus Joe Manchin voted it down. And Susan Collins said it went too far, and I understand. Well, I know she has an alternative, and of course, now that we have folks on record not supporting the Women's Health Protection Act, we can move on to introduce other bills, like a bill just to protect Roe, which Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski have raised. Another bill might protect women's rights, whether if they're in danger or or it's a result of rape or abuse. So we hope that there will be further legislative attempts here. Anything that we can get done to mitigate the horrible consequences of this overturning of Roe that seems to be imminent.
Scott, was Schumer, were they right in not accepting the Republican bill? It would have provided, according to the 2 senators, it would have provided all of the protections that Roe protects.
Well, Roe already wasn't doing a very good job of protecting. Is it something that is a what do they call it? Like,
Yes.
last line of defense thing, maybe. But I think the idea that, we have to push forward in the struggle rather than, searching for the most basic minimal fallback position is a good one. And I'm glad that one of my senators, put forward a bill that would actually advance the struggle for reproductive choice and for equality for women.
What is that expression, Rosanna, about the good being the enemy of the perfect, or the perfect being the enemy of the good? Scott is saying that, yeah, I'm glad they took the more radical position. But Rosanna, if this bill, if the Supreme Court rules the way we think, a lot of women, poor working class women, maybe some women who ain't so, they're going to be suffering. Did Schumer do the right thing in this particular case?
I don't think I could say exactly. I'm not in his shoes, but it's very concerning that it's not such a cut deal when you have people who are saying, "Oh, I don't want government telling me what to do," but yet we have this bill that you know tells us what we can't do with our own bodies, and we can't have this right that we should have. And the definitely, especially women of color, women who are domestic workers in clean homes, people's homes, or clean buildings, things like that, are more proportionally raped, and have these issues and they don't have much recourse with these kinds of laws. So it's very concerning.
I think, Anita, that part of the reason may be like tactical. That
Hmm.
they feel like they can get the same bill passed in 3 or 4 months after the Supreme Court rules, and so maybe they're playing for advantage with respect to how what they do and when they do it might impact the election. What do you think?
And
Well, we'll see. I hope it does affect the election. I hope people are motivated. I know, for instance, in Ohio, we've got some clear statewide choices that, uphold women's right to choose and to full bodily autonomy on the one hand, and then on the other hand, restrictions on that. So I think there's some clear choices in certain states, and that might motivate people to be more involved politically in the electoral process this year. Um, but I think Schumer wanted to show that the Democrats are doing something because it's important for them to get the word out to people that they're trying to make an effort. And I really don't think it's going to preclude other bills being introduced and voted on in the future. So and I do think we need every form of relief we can from real suffering. So I would actually welcome those. I know we do have to press forward. We have to push for everything we can, and but I think we also should, not discourage those other bills from coming up for a vote.
I hope you're right, and I hope that their messaging is on point and that they're able to communicate to the American people what they're trying to do, and people don't get frustrated and say, "Oh, there they go again playing politics."
Joe,
My life. Yeah, Scott?
I mean, one other consideration is that the Supreme Court, like the ruling, is not set in stone, and I suspect that the Supreme Court wants to avoid a situation where its decision is overruled by Congress. So part of this is also, I think, an attempt to
Mhm.
um, like shape the background or the context in which the final decision will be written, because it's I mean, dialectics teaches us that nothing is, we have this impression of the Supreme Court as like, you know, it's they just interpret the law, whatever. That's not how it is. Of course, they do it in the context of struggle that's happening on every level. So I think that's another piece of the puzzle here.
So you're saying we're playing checkers and Schumer's playing three-dimensional chess, and that there's a
Mhm.
hidden tactical ploy that they're
No,
trying to
I think we're
employ.
all just playing checkers. Um,
They're, they're,
but
they're trying to shape what the Supreme Court might do so that they could do even more when that decision is rendered. Scott's got his thinking cap on this morning, Rosanna, and it's not such a bad thing. Well, we'll see. Saturday, tomorrow. By the way, happy Friday the 13th, if you're superstitious. Even if you're not, happy Friday the 3rd. Tomorrow, there's going to be demonstrations for a woman's right to choose all over the country. I hope all of our listeners go out, show up, protest, write a letter, send a telegram, send an email, send a text message, do something. All of us need to get up off of our, posterior, stand up and take a stance on this issue. It's going to affect everybody. Make no mistake about it. Well, while they're planning this vote um, in Congress, on abortion rights and other issues, Mr. Biden and company are planning a summit of the Americas. I'm not sure where that's supposed to take place, but there's a lot of controversy around it, Rosanna, because they didn't invite Venezuela, they didn't invite Nicaragua, and you know good and well they didn't invite, if they didn't invite Venezuela and Nicaragua, they ain't trying to invite Cuba either. Cold War is blowing hard, Rosanna, from the
Sure is.
60th Pennsylvania Avenue to blowing cold air south. I thought there was going to be a change.
Not in the foreign policies is clearly. I think the summit is going to be here in Los Angeles,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. And I know that the president of Mexico has already said that if they exclude those countries, he will not be attending. He will send representatives, but he himself will not be attending in protest. And that might be the case with other countries. Um, and because he says, it's how is that possible that we're going to have a summit and we exclude other people, other countries that are part of this, that are part of the Americas.
I hope they have a united front. I hope Chile doesn't go, and
Peru,
Peru,
Bolivia.
Bolivia. I hope all of them just say no. In this
Hmm.
case, that would be, huh? What was
I
that?
said yes. I think that might be the case, especially in these countries that are, more left leaning. They have left governments. Um, we're hoping that that's the case, or at least I'm hoping that's the case.
Right. And Joe, that
Go ahead,
apparently
Anita.
has happened every summit of the Americas. At the last one, which was 2015 in Panama, they didn't want at first the U.S. objected to Cuba being invited. Then Panama said no, they're invited, and Obama met with Obama withdrew his objection to Cuba, and then they had the meeting in 2015. That was shortly after Obama reopened the Cuban embassy. So that was where you saw Raul Castro and Obama shaking hands. So every year they have this issue. Every time they have a summit of the Americas, they have an issue with the U.S. not wanting Cuba to participate, and the Latin American countries saying no, we're not going to. You're not going to dictate the mailing list. And also, I had to kind of smile because the State Department said, "Oh, Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela probably wouldn't be invited, but no invitations have been sent yet." Well, I think for a June event, it's time to send out those invitations or a save the date card at least. So I had to laugh at that.
So that was a trial balloon, maybe. They wanted to see what the reaction was going to be before sending out
Yeah.
the invitation.
Right.
Well, you need peace, you need cooperation, you need to talk to people, you need detente, you need a relaxation of tensions, you need, normal state to state relations between countries with different social systems. United States can't can't tell Cuba what to do. You can't tell the people in Managua what to do. They're not listening to you anymore. You can't tell Venezuela what to do. People are standing up for and you can't force them. You can try, but it's gonna, it's gonna kick back at you. It's gonna boomerang, and and uh, and the stakes are so high as we see now in Ukraine and in the terrible war that's taking place there due to the Russian invasion, due to Putin thinking that Ukraine is Russia's backyard, that it's not an independent people, independent nation, and now see Putin and them are very nationalistic, and they don't want, and I can't blame them, NATO on their doorstep. But now, Anita, Finland wants to join NATO. and,
It's true.
and Sweden too.
Yes,
Historically non-aligned. They didn't call it non-aligned. They call it neutral. We're
neutral, right?
neutral. What
Neutral is a
gives?
good
I
term.
mean, I hope. I mean, when I heard that Finland was trying to, I said, "Oh no."
Hmm.
You know, and the Russians said there are going to be military, technical, and other consequences, and that's
But
not good, Anita.
this
Yeah.
the Sweden and Finland applying to join NATO is not a new thing. The NATO and the U.S. in particular have been working on them for years, and there were um, there are political parties there uh, who are um, right wing parties who are not for peace, who are for austerity, who very much support the kind of neoliberal paradigm of most of the NATO countries, and this is this is a decision that's been a long time in the making. The Ukraine thing may have pushed things forward a little bit, but um, this isn't all of a sudden these two neutral countries are deciding to join with NATO. This is the fruit of a long process of pressure, and I'm sure of struggle within those countries against.
But it
Um,
is new that they are trying to join. They wasn't trying to join last August. Now that they've got Russian troops, tanks breathing down their necks, they say, "Oh,
It'd be interesting to know what the peace movements in those countries are saying, what the kind of temperature among the people is, how the decision is going to be made, um, by referendum or whatever. It'd be interesting to know a little more.
well, I invited the communists to come, and maybe we'll get them next week from Finland to talk about the position of their country on this very important issue." You know, I was reading an article the other day that said that, speaking of NATO, and they were talking about Ukraine, and they were saying that, well, nobody was, some people were talking about Ukraine joining NATO, but it really wasn't a serious thing because there were some objections. And I read that and I said, whoever said that don't know nothing about European diplomacy or diplomacy in general. Because when the United States or the UK, but particularly, decide that they want one country to join NATO, you better believe all them jokers are going to line up and say yes. They people take different postures on different questions with respect to, because they're trying to get something. They're trying to negotiate something, and so there'll be a back and forth. So when the people in Washington and Wall Street say, this is what we want to see happen, and this is what we're going to do to make sure that it happens, you better believe it's going to happen. That's the way that I remember one of my friends telling me he was negotiating a landmine issue in Geneva, a treaty to ban those mines, and how all these countries said that they weren't. And then the U.S. ambassador came in there and they started whispering. Next thing you know, they voted. Everybody voted unanimously once the U.S. gave them the green light. That's the way that those kinds of things work. Well, I think that pretty much does it. We talked about the summit in the Americas. We talked about abortion rights. We talked about Finland joining NATO. We talked about our discussion questions. What do we have coming up? We have classes, the Marxist classes next week. Did anybody go last night and listen to the class? I think Roberta. How was it, Scott?
I was
It was very good. So last night was uh, Tukumba Bodunde, Roberta Wood, and John Bactel on the working class today. And before that, on Tuesday, Carl Wood on the political economy of capitalism, specifically the rate of exploitation, very informative. And on the previous Saturday, we had sessions on, oh, I've already forgotten. Anyway, tomorrow, beginning at 11, D. Miles and I will be talking about our definition, well, the Marxist definition of the working class, and then there'll be a session on the fight against fascism in the afternoon.
Tune in tomorrow. Go to cpusa.org and check it out. Finally, folks, there was a very important, potentially, discovery the other week. They discovered a black hole at the center of the Milky Way. That thing is as big as, you really can't comprehend its size. It says like 7 million suns. How do you?
Well, it's not very big, though. It's just very heavy.
And they don't know how big or how, and no light can escape it. So you're only seeing, and it's, how old is it? I mean, isn't it like, doesn't it take like 50,000 years or something for the light that emanates from to reach us? So we're really looking at something that happened 50, I'm just picking a number, but tens of thousands of years ago, and when you think about things on that scale, it just kind of boggles the imagination. It makes me want to go back home and watch Star Trek. Anyway.
Yeah. Me too.
Or take a nap.
What do you say, Anita?
I said, or just take a nap,
Or just take a nap.
Makes me want to go out and look at the sky.
It also makes you wonder, about to what degree is this world and universe of ours knowable. But maybe we'll talk about that next week. Stay strong. Yes?
I was going to say, I think it puts your whole life in perspective. If you stop to think about that, we walk around as if the world revolves around us. It's all about us. And then these kinds of discoveries throw a big wrench in it and say, hey, it's not just about me, that the world is much more and bigger, and I'm just a grain of sand in that. And so I think it lightens up the load.
And you have the last word, Rosanna. Till next week, stay strong, stay safe, stay in the fight. And remember, thou art but a grain of sand,
Right.
blowing in the winds of time. Take care, everybody.
Later, comrades.
Bye.
Okay, thank you, Taryn.
As always.